Hello comrades, the Honey Badger here with another in-depth tutorial for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. For today, we're going to discuss about heating and how to keep your citizens at a comfortable temperature even in Siberia. Let's see the topics that we're going to discuss. Buildings, what buildings you have access to. What distance should you build your heating plant? What's the difference between building temperature and boiler temperature? Temperature, how it's measured and when you'll have problems. Why using heat pumps over long distances have higher temperature than directly connecting a heat pipe. How do you read boiler size in heating plants, heat exchangers and heat pumps? Why does a fully staffed operational heating plant stay at 15 to 20% efficiency most of the time? How to keep your heating plant fully operational without having any industry around it. And the final topic, how to keep your heating plant fully operational when you have industry around it. Well, without further ado, let's jump into the first topic, about the buildings. In order to access everything related to heating, you need to go to Networks and then the Heating tab. Over here, you're gonna see everything split by three categories: heating plants, heating pipes, and substations. In regards to heating plants, there are two of them, a small heating plant and a big heating plant. Then you have the heating pipes. They are also split into two categories, small heating pipes and big heating pipes. Apart from this, you got the above ground heating pipes and the below ground heating pipes. To be honest, always use underground pipes. There's absolutely no reason for you to use above ground pipes as you're losing a lot of heat. Then you got the heat pumping stations that are used to extend the range of your pipes. Usually you can construct up to 1000 meters of piping before you need to plunk down a heating pipe so you can continue constructing more pipes. However, you're gonna see that these are also useful under 1000 meters too. Then you got the heat exchangers. They come into variants, a normal heat exchanger and a small heat exchanger. From my point of view, the small heat exchanger is the best, and this is where almost everyone that I saw does it wrong. They are using the normal heat exchanger. Stay tuned and I'll explain exactly why it's wrong to use the heat exchanger. Now, let's discuss a bit about the distance where you should build your heating plant. To be honest, online I've seen many recommendations ranging from 700 meters to 1 kilometer. Usually, I've built my heating plant somewhere between 700 and 800 meters away from my city, and also included industries around it, and I had no issues at all. If you build it closer to 700 meters, you will be in trouble, as this means your citizens will be more polluted, resulting in less health and less life expectancy. The way I like to do it is to firstly plunk down the heating plant, let's say somewhere around the border, around here, and make sure that your pipe exits face the city. So in my case, I'll build on this area over here, and let's place it near the border, just like this. Here we go, and now let's wait for it to be fully built. There we go. Now we take our trusty measurement tool and measure from the exit 700 or 800 meters. For safety, I'll go 800 meters, so it will be somewhere around here. Then I'll mark the location with a mud road. Just like this. This way, I'll make sure that everything on this side is dangerous to build, and over here I'll just include industry or the depots or the construction yards, etc. And everything on this side, it's safe to build for our citizens to live in. Now, for the next topic, it will be about temperature, but firstly, I'd like to build an example city, so I'll be right back. In the game, there are two types of temperature: building temperature and boiler temperature. The building temperature can be checked with the interior temperature overlay. In order to access it, you can go over here to Overlays, click on the final button, Building Properties, and you will have both the interior and the heat water tank, which is the boiler one. Let's go for the interior one. This one is affected by the outside temperature. If a building is left without a heating source, the building will accurately follow the outside temperature. As we can see, outside it's 22 degrees at the moment, and it's regulating exactly to 22-21 degrees inside the buildings that are not connected to the boiler. Now let's discuss about the heat water tank. The heat water tank, and from now on I'll call it a boiler temperature, is the temperature that the heating plant generates. This one can be considered both a buffer and a supplier for the interior temperature of your buildings. Basically, check the outside temperature. If it's minus X degrees, your boiler heat will start dropping so it can artificially raise the temperature inside the building. As we can see, at the moment it's minus 22 degrees, but because the building over here is connected and the boiler temperature is at 77 degrees, the inside temperature is 21 degrees. So that's a 40 degrees difference between them. Because of this, what I can say is that you need to pay close attention to the temperature inside the building rather than the temperature inside the boiler itself. For example, running the boiler during summertime when outside it's above 24 degrees will not affect the building temperature at all. That's why, from my point of view, you should not focus on the boiler temperature when trying to fix your building issues, but rather focus on the internal building temperature. As we can see over here, the lowest amount is 65.9 degrees. That's a 15 degree drop. But if we're going to interior temperature, we can see that it's at 15 degrees inside. The difference between the hottest building versus the chilliest building, it's only 6 degrees. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting math problem over here. That's just adding to the confusion of how temperature works, sadly. Because the temperature inside buildings is measured between minus 60 degrees, highest value that I've reached in Siberia maps, and 24 degrees maximum heat allowed in buildings during summertime. Everything above 24 degrees, it looks like it doesn't matter, as communists always had access to a very, very powerful invisible AC that knows how to keep the temperature at exactly 24 degrees. Moreover, let's move into the next topic a bit, and let's talk about comfortable temperatures. Everything below 15 degrees Celsius is a problem area. Your citizens will get sick, happiness will drop considerably fast, and your hospitals will get overflooded by patients. This is what I usually call a heating death spiral. Basically, if you don't instantly fix it, you'll end up in a place where doctors can't work due to being sick, workers won't work at your heating plant due to being sick, and everyone dies a freezing death or escapes the country due to hypothermia. Everything between 15 and 20 degrees will only very slowly decrease happiness of your citizens, and maybe here and there you are going to have a sick citizen. Everything between 20 and 24 degrees, it's a perfect temperature. Citizens' happiness will rise, and you will not have any health issues based on temperature. Now, let's talk a bit about the boiler temperature. This temperature ranges between 0 and 90 degrees. The drop of its temperature is heavily reliant on the outside temperature and the amount of buildings connected. Moreover, the boiler temperature will drop with distance from the heating plant, and whilst on this topic, let's discuss it a bit. The next topic that I wanted to discuss is why using heat pumps over long distances have higher temperatures than directly connecting a heat pipe. Well, that's what I wanted to discuss. I even prepared a perfect logical example for this to happen. Basically, if you grab a bottle of hot water from your sink and you're trying to walk at minus 10 degrees outside for 1 kilometer, and then repeat the same experiment, but this time running instead of walking, you would have noticed that the bottle you ran with was way hotter than the bottle you walked with. However, sadly, something changed in the last 3 months since I played this game, that it seems like they are perfectly equal. So basically, at the moment on your screen, you're seeing a path that goes with a water pump, with a heat water pump, and one with no pumps. They both hold the same exact temperature. How did this happen? I'm not sure, because in my 100 plus hours of sessions and all of my failed attempts at building a proper city, in all of them in Siberia, I always had the problem where the boiler temperature at the nearby city, it would be way too low for it to do anything, and I had to build like consecutive pumps. This time it doesn't happen. I'm not sure if maybe it's because of one setting I didn't enable, but take it with a grain of salt. Usually it's better to run it through a pump, because we're going to discuss it later on why that is. So without further ado, let's jump to the next topic that will make sense. Now, let's discuss how do you read boiler size in heating plants, heat exchangers, and heat pumps. The heating plant has a boiler size of 1050 cubic meters. This means that the heating plant alone can cover buildings that have in total 1050 cubic meters usage. Now, how do you figure this number? Well, on each building that requires heating, you will notice a hot water tank value. This value is how much the building will suck up out of those 1050 cubic meters. As you can see, the flat brick consumes 7 cubic meters per day. It's at the hot water tank over here. This amount usually around buildings ranges from 0.5 cubic meters up to 20 cubic meters. If we would take an average of the most popular buildings you're going to build, it's somewhere in the ballpark of 12 to 13 cubic meters. This means that a large heating plant can successfully service on average 80 buildings if it runs constantly at full speed during winter time. Moreover, if you noticed, the heat pumping stations come also in 2 flavors. There's a small one, which has a hot water tank of 1000 cubic meters, and a big one that has 300 cubic meters. To be honest, I've never used a small heat pumping station. I always went with the big heat pumping station. I'm going to show you exactly why soon. Well, basically, the hot water tank from the pumping stations means how much hot water is pumped through it. It doesn't mean that it's an extension of that 1050 cubic meters that the heating plant produces. And now let's jump into heat exchangers. They also come into two flavors, a big one and a small one. The big one consumes 300 cubic meters, whilst the small one consumes 100 cubic meters. Most of the temperature losses, they don't occur between the heating plant and the heat exchanger. They always occur between the heat exchanger and the buildings around it. As we can see in the current setup, the heating plant generates 90 degrees. The pump generates 84 degrees or 82 degrees, this further one. As you can see, it's just a 6 to 8 degrees of drop. And between the heating pipe and the heat exchanger, again, it's a 3 degrees drop. However, between the heat exchanger and the closest building I have, it's already a 4 degrees drop within, let's see how much meters, within 50 meters. Compare it to the 3 degree drop that we have over 300 meters. So this means that the heat exchanger, although it can cover a total of 400 meters of buildings, it doesn't mean that it will provide enough heat to all buildings so it can fully satisfy the temperature. If we look over here with only one big heat exchanger, the temperature varies from 16.7 degree, which is a danger zone, to 9.6 degree, which is already above the danger zone, and you are in big trouble at the moment. So what I recommend is to never use big heat exchangers, especially in Siberia. Instead, place a heating pumping station close to the city, and then connect 3 individual small heat exchangers to your buildings. Let's compare the two side by side. At the top with the big heat exchanger, you're seeing that already after 2 buildings, you're losing enough heat to cause problems. However, when having 3 small heat exchangers, all of the buildings surrounding them are above the danger zone. The only exception is this one, and for this one I would actually add another heat exchanger if I would continue this type of line of buildings. Moreover, let's imagine that you are playing with fire on. What's better, to have a fire on a big heat exchanger and wake up with the whole city without a way to heat it up, or to have a small fire on a small heat exchanger and have the other two as a backup to save your city from freezing? And I think I kinda made my point clear, so let's move on to the next topic. Now, let's discuss on how to keep your heating plant fully operational without having any industry around it. Until now, my heating plant was working with workers exported from the large custom warehouse. However, I want to change that. So what I've done was to create a bus line from my buildings to the heating plant itself, and also added a lot of buses on the way. As you can see, already one single guy is going towards the heating plant to work there. If I fully stop the other line, let's tell him to go there, and there should be another one, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, here it is. Let's force him to go to the depot. Now what you're going to notice is that the people will not go to work willingly over here. Only maybe 1 or 2 workers, especially when you're barely having any people in your city. What you can do is have A flats over here, and you can add the buildings where these workers from this flat can go. So I'll force all of the workers from this specific flat to go and work directly at the bus stop. So what will happen is everyone that is able to work will go and populate the bus stop. As you can see already, this is happening. Now this bus, instead of taking only 1 single worker, it takes 8 workers to go there. And this number will continue to increase as time passes. This is a way to force at the very beginning, when you're starting and you're having a very few amount of people, to force them to work directly at the heating plant. Right now, the cold is coming and they will soon be affected, but no worries, the new people are already starting to work in here, and our 8 workers are also coming, so that is perfect. Here we go. 11 more incoming. Let's speed it up a bit. And there you go. Your heating plant works at full capacity in the middle of the winter with just a very few amount of people in your city. Make sure that either you tone down this number over here and assign other buildings too. So you're making sure that your shops and etc. get populated too, or have a fully dedicated building with like 60 workers that solely work at the heating plant, and the other workers in another building focusing on your entertainment and other needs. Good. The same thing can happen if you have industry around. So let's say that I have some industry around here. And I want people to focus on the heating plant rather than focusing on the other industries. The way I do it is I go to the bus stop, add buildings where they should go, focus on the heating plant firstly, and then on other buildings. And I tell them 61% go to the heating plant, the others will go to the other buildings. Don't worry, this doesn't mean that it will fill up and then workers will wait around for an endless amount of time so they can take turns into working at the heating plant. No. The maximum amount of workers, which is 30 at the moment, will occupy the heating plant, whilst the others will go work on the other industries. And this covers the entire tutorial about heating. Let me know down in the comments what I've missed or I didn't properly explain. Moreover, please do like, subscribe and share, as this keeps me motivated to pump out more in-depth tutorials like this one after I finish my day job. For you, a like and sub is just 2 button presses. However, for me it tells me a lot, ranging from the fact that you've enjoyed the content and that I should make even more, to maybe one day YouTube, maybe it will pay my evening coffees that I drink to keep up this type of work. Until next time, this has been the Honey Badger and I'm out.